Welcome, my name is Meekela, this is Meekela Reads. I live here. You may or may not know that I have an entirely too ambitious TBR. It started the year at 70, we're probably well over that by this point. However, we also strived to reach 100 books last year. At the end of 2022, I was hoping to have read 100 books. I thought I had made it to 98, but little did I know I actually had made it to 99, and I was one book shy of hitting my goal of 100. This year, we are currently at 70 books for the year, which is my goal that I had set myself. That's where we were at. I just have it in the back of my brain that I need to reach 100 by the end of the year. And I know that it's unrealistic. I know that that is an unachievable task. But is that going to stop me? No. And so today I'm going to run you through technically the end of year tag, but realistically it's my plan for how I'm going to ambitiously try to read 100 books by the end of the year. But first, we shall take a minute to discuss the sponsor of today's video, Analuisany, who have very kindly partnered with me once again. It is coming up to the holiday gift giving season. It is the end of the year. It is the time of gifting and receiving gifts, buying gifts for yourself, buying gifts for other people. So what better time to make use of Analuisany's 35% off sale than right now. Secret Santa gift that you don't know what to get? Analuisany. Finding it hard to buy your partner something because they just buy everything for themselves? Analuisany. Have a relative that you don't quite know what to buy? Analuisany. They have you covered, and it's a guarantee that not only the quality of the jewelry will stand the test of time, but your status as favorite loved one will just naturally increase. So Analuisany have kindly sent me 3 pieces that I'm going to tell you about today. Now I have a plan for some gifts, and I'm really hoping that the person I'm gifting this to is not watching. Caitlin, avert your eyes. First, I have here both the ring and the necklace from the May line. And as you can tell, they are both in green. These are stunning, timeless pieces that are made with recycled glass because have I mentioned that Analuisany are sustainable? These pieces are so stunning and they feel almost vintage in their aesthetic, which I love. My plan is to actually gift one of these to my friend, and then I will keep the other piece for myself, and it's like we'll have almost matching jewelry. It throws me back to like when you were a kid and you would get the matching necklaces that go together, but like kind of in a bit more of an adult way. We have semi-matchy jewelry. So that is my plan for these 2 pieces. And the other piece is the Chloe necklace, which I'm actually wearing right now. This has a little flippy sun and rain cloud on it, and I got this because it is the perfect fidget necklace. I fidget a lot. If you haven't noticed, I can't keep my hands still. I'm always fidgeting with something, adjusting something. So this jewelry piece was very strategic for me because I've noticed that I also fidget with my necklaces quite a lot, and this one just has an inbuilt fidget. It's perfect. So Analuisany, like I said, are having a 35% off sale for the holiday gift giving season. I have a link in the description down below if you want to click that and check it out. It will give you 35% off of your order. So now is the perfect time. Like I said, get yourself a treat, buy a gift for someone else. Thank you, Analuisany, for partnering with me as always. Now, on with the list. Like I said, this is the end of the year TBR tag. This was originally made by Ariel Bissett, so I will leave the link to her original video in the description down below as well, so that'll be there if you want to go check out the original. She made it quite a few years ago, but I think it's still very relevant, and it's going to help me give me some structure just for the end of the year, for the next 26 days, because we love to gamify our reading here. Question number 1 is, are there any books that I have started this year that I need to finish? The answer is yes. If you missed my previous videos, I just wrapped up the Bloom Readathon for the year, so I started a few books for that I still haven't quite finished. I still need to finish Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. This is a somewhat self-help book, and it explores how you split the workload of chores and children and all of the other things that are required to run a household, whilst allowing time for yourself to also have your own time. Spend time doing the things that you love, spend time doing the things that you want to do, and not just spending all of your time cleaning kitchens. I'm actually only about this far into it, so I have quite a bit left to go. But that is one that I will be kind of prioritizing to finish because I would love to get this one done by the end of the year, ready for next year. Not that I believe in setting New Year's resolution goals, but I think it is a good time at the start of the year to refresh and think about your intentions for the rest of the year and what you would like to do. So Fair Play is one. You know what, we're just gonna zoom out a tiny bit. I also started listening to The Wizard of Earthsea, which is the first in the Earthsea books. Actually, I don't know how many of these are. There's 4 in this book at least. But I started listening to the first one, which is The Wizard of Earthsea, quite a bit earlier in the year, and I did intend to try and pick it up for the Bloom Readathon, but didn't quite get back to it. What I found is that when I was listening to the audiobook, the way that it was written, because Ursula K. Le Guin wrote it quite some time ago, is it's a bit more lyrical in the way that it's written, and it was a bit harder to follow. So I have intentions to actually pick up the physical book to read this one so that I can keep up. I can read how things are spelled, I can commit it to memory as opposed to just trying to listen to it to get through it, if that makes sense. I have no expectations on myself to actually read all of this, that is ridiculous, but I would like to at least read the first one before the end of the year so that I can start my journey. Also, I thought that I would be listening to The Dryad Storm, which is the 5th book in the Black Witch Chronicle series. I've just finished the 4th one yesterday. So I had grand plans to keep reading and to finish the series. However, did not realize that that book is not released until like mid next year. So that will not be on the list. Instead, I have started listening to The Knife I've Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, which is the first book in the Chaos Walking series. I picked this up quite some time ago and I had some interest in reading it before the movie came out, and it's kind of this post-apocalyptic dystopian world. There has been some kind of virus or sickness that killed off all the women, and all of the men can read each other's minds, but they can't read the minds of the women, and so they're like quiet. But there's no women left until our main character, Todd, who is about to become a man, stumbles across what he sees as a quiet spot in the swamp one day. It's definitely very interesting to start off with. I consistently really like Patrick Ness's writing. It's very distinct. It's quite odd in the way that he writes and the way that he constructs these worlds, but in a way that's really still quite accessible. I still know what's going on. It is not confusing whatsoever. I know who's who. I know where we are. If I enjoy this one, I may pick up the second one, but I'm still not sold yet. But that's another one to try to finish listening to by the end of the year. Finally, for the ones that I've started and should try to finish, but if I try to finish this book, I will not make it anywhere near 100 books by the end of the year. It may even just be like one book by the end of the year, really. I started reading The Priory of the Orange Tree a long time ago and only made it that far. Granted, I made it about 200 pages in, and I'm gonna have to reread it if I do try to read it again. I put it down purely because I was confused, I wasn't motivated to read it, it put me in a reading slump. It's gonna have to be a significant dedication to actually try to blitz through the book until I get invested, because it didn't hit. I started it, I had grand intentions, I should at least try to follow through on some of it. Question number 2 is, do you have any autumnal books to transition into the end of the year? I don't have any new ones that I'm planning on reading at the moment, but I do hope that I will be able to do a reread of A Psalm for the Wild Built and A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers, which happens to be one of my favourite series of all time. They're not necessarily autumnal, but they're definitely cozy, and it is currently summer in Australia, so it's quite hot and definitely not anywhere close to autumnal. But I do feel like I need a bit of a hug from a book, and that's exactly what these ones do for me. If I do get in a slump, or if I feel like I just need a bit of a pick-me-up one day, I know that I can smash at least one, if not both of these out, and really just nourish and reinvigorate my soul, because that's what these books do for me. A Psalm for the Wild Built and A Prayer for the Crown Shy are a duology by Becky Chambers. It follows Dex. They are a tea monk, and in this world, they go on an adventure to explore the wilds when suddenly they run into a robot named Mosscap, and it is a story of an unlikely and incredibly nourishing and heartwarming friendship that also tackles a lot of really big questions in life, like what the purpose of life even is. I loved it so much the first time around, so I'm hoping I love it just as much the second time around. Question number 3 is there a new release that you are still waiting for? And I don't think that there's any that I'm necessarily like waiting for to come out, but there are several that I have not read that have come out recently. First is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mehra. This is exactly what it sounds like. It is the story of a woman who becomes an assistant to the villain, the morally grey fantasy villain. She is a TikToker who released a series of the same vein and story that I followed quite closely in the pandemic, but lost a bit of interest. I'm hoping I like the book. I've heard mixed reviews, but I have had it on good authority from my cousin that it is good. So I'm actually a little bit more excited now to jump into it. I had planned to read this for the Blue Moon Readathon, but once again, plans did not plan as planned, nor did I think I could get through that ambitious TBR of more than 20 books. She says making a new TBR of nearly 20 books. We also have The Narrow Road Between Desires by Patrick Ness. This is his new release little short story that he released. He did say that it is basically a rewrite of The Lightning Tree, which he wrote some time ago. I never read it, but it is a story that follows Bast, which is essentially a side character in The Name of the Wind. We are eagerly awaiting Patrick Rothfuss to write the 3rd book in the series, but I'll take what I can get, and if that's this, then I'm gonna take it. We also had The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. by Brandon Sanderson. This was among his crowdfunded novels that he wrote. One of the other ones was Tress of the Emerald Sea, which I recently loved, and so I picked up this one because I'm hoping that I also like it as much as I like Tress. I genuinely don't actually know what this is about, but what it says is, Sunday Times bestselling author Brandon Sanderson meshes Jason Bourne and epic fantasy in this captivating adventure that throws an amnesiac wizard into time travel shenanigans, and his only hope of survival lies in recovering his missing memories. Sounds fun. Sounds like a good adventure, a good time that's not in a world that I have to, oh my gosh, is this the wizard? Incredible. And finally, the most obvious one of all of them, Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree, which is the prequel to Travis Baldree's Legends and Lattes, which again, read this time last year, absolutely loved it. I'm pretty sure this is Viv before she became the cafe dwelling orc that she was in Legends and Lattes. I've heard it's good, I've heard it's not as good as Legends and Lattes, but prequels never are as good as the originals and sequels, in my opinion. Next question. What are 3 books you want to read by the end of the year? Besides this and my other TBR of nearly 70 books, I would really like to get to Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. It's small. Becky Chambers, once again, like I said, one of favourite authors of favourite series. Also love the other series that she has written, but this is a sci-fi that explores if instead of humans terraforming other planets, they transform themselves instead to fit in different places in the galaxy, which is a really interesting concept. She's got a way with short stories, so that's on the list, definitely. Also because I'm just excited to read all of Becky Chambers' writing. I haven't done it yet, it's on my backlist. If I can manage to get my hands on the next books in the Witch graphic novel series, I would also really like to do that, but I would definitely be reading 1 and 2, which I do have finally got my hands on them. I'm still waiting on 6, 7, 8 through to number 13, because the next one I have is 14. These, like I said, ad nauseum, Magical Girls series, following 5 girls have magical powers thrust upon them to save the world and all worlds. I have a smattering of them, but these are just the ones I have right now, ready to go, where I'm up to in the series. And finally, I'd also like to get a copy of it. I don't have it yet, but it's Jonathan Livingston's Seagull, I believe. And actually, one of my work colleagues had recommended this to me. It's a short story or collection of short stories about a seagull who is aiming to, I guess, be his own seagullness, but also struggling to fit in with the rest of the seagulls. I think it's a really, really interesting commentary, as far as I know, on how sometimes we try to change ourselves to fit in with different groups when we need to actually just kind of find our place with our right people. Like I said, a work colleague recommended it and it sounded very much up my alley. I also recommended he read Garlic and the Vampire and Before the Coffee Gets Cold and A Sample of Wild Bill. So I'm hoping if our tastes align, this will be a good pick. The next question is there a book that you think might shock you and still be your favourite book of the year? I'm really hoping that Bookshops and Bone Dust or To Be Taught If Fortunate could be up there with potentially becoming a new favourite on the list. I do also have plans to read How Do You Live? But I'm going to read this after I have seen the Ghibli movie on the 10th of December, because historically I have enjoyed the movies a bit more than the books, particularly for like Howl's Moving Castle. From what I've heard, it sounds like it could become a new favorite. Many people whose opinions I very much trust also have this as a favorite, so if I'm going purely off of that, this could be one of them. And the last question is, have you already started making plans for reading in 2024? The short answer is no solid ones just yet. I did have it in my reading goals this year to read through the Robin Hobb books, which I didn't quite manage to get to, but I did figure out which book cover aesthetic I would like to collect and have. Secondhand bookshops in Australia can be really, really hit and miss with some of the books. We don't have anything like a half price books. We just kind of have little independent secondhand bookshops run by local booksellers, which I love because sometimes like trying to find a diamond in a coal mine, but also sometimes you'll go and you'll come out with 10 books more than you went in with. But like I said, I finally found which ones I wanted. What drew me in was the Live Ship Traders covers. Ooh, I picked the raunchy one, hang on, which are this really cool old-timey aesthetic. And then I found kind of like the matching covers for the other series as well. They've got this similar kind of faded but illustrated pastel vibe. So I'm hoping that that can be a part of my reading goals next year. I might also have some vague plans of trying to like work down my TBR like I do every year. It definitely didn't work this year. My 1 in 1 out policy was obliterated like in February. It was successful the year before, but just not this year. And that's okay. Sometimes you just roll with the punches, and sometimes the punches are just buying more books than what you have read in the year. Rolling with the punches. If you have any tips on how to not buy books and how to work down your own physical TBR, please let me know. Desperately needing assistance. So yeah, this is kind of like my current plan. You can't even see all of them. Hang on. Once again, realistically, is she gonna read this many books in a month? Probably not. How many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is 17 here. I did read 11 books, 10 books in November, so it's not entirely far-fetched, but it is a lot. I do have time off in December, and I do plan to spend that reading. Let me know what your end of the year reading plans are. Do you also have a stupidly ambitious TBR for December to try to make it to an arbitrary goal that makes literally no point or sense? Let me know. But in saying that, that is all I had for you today. Don't forget to click on the link in the description down below to check out Analuisa and get 35% off of your order. That is like the best deal that I've had with them yet so far. So take advantage of it while it is here. Thank you again for hanging out with me today. It's been fun. It's like catching up. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a fantastic day or night or whatever time it is where you are in the world, and I will see you next week, hopefully, for another video, if my computer decides to actually do its job and render them. Goodbye.